Hey, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Wanted to give you an update on our friend Michael, and he wanted me to say, listen, I think it would be a great title if you say that I'm 50 today. So yes, Michael is 50 today. If you've been keeping up with Michael, Michael is now back in hospital with dengue. He had dengue before, but if anything was not fully aware of just how serious it is, and I tried to explain what I had learned myself about dengue, and how the platelets are the rescue team that are coursing 24/7 around the bloodstream of the body and go to any hemorrhage site in order to be able to repair the damage so that you don't bleed to death. Well, with dengue, you need to be high in the numbers, and when Michael went into the hospital, I think he was at 16,000, and before they will allow him to leave the hospital now, they want him to be around 100,000. Now that gives you an idea, doesn't it? Well, he went from 16 to 17, and then he made a jump and he went to 37,000. Okay, so still way underneath, but at the time, based on the information that he had, he thought that he was doing pretty good and he didn't feel that bad. So that was why he felt okay about being out of hospital. Now, for me, I wanted him in the hospital, but the point is that very often, and I even had subscribers tell me that they had found this with their own parents, that sometimes the one who is facing possible death is the one that is least in the know. So people go along and the patient is lying in bed, and the family with the best of intentions are talking to the doctor in the next room and discussing plans or solutions, or without the knowledge of the patient. So it's not an ideal situation. Now, for me, my job was to go and to back him up in whatever he decided to do. Now, believe me, I did try. I mean, I waved a fist at him like this and said, Michael, you've got to stay in the hospital. As he pointed out, he said, it's my life. I make my decisions. It's my life. And I said, it may be your death. And he said, and I understand that. It was by talking to someone else who explained it in a different way, and that means everything. If you can find someone to explain the situation in a way that really nails it, then you can change a person's mind. But before that happens, and I certainly didn't have those words, the right words, so he was at home with us. We brought him home, he stayed in our guest house, we did our best to look after him, and the next day, which was yesterday, he went in, we took him back to the hospital to have his checkup, and that's when he found he was 37, I think. Well, the reason he's saying right now that he wants everyone who has been praying for him, and heaven knows there has been, no pun intended by the way, but a lot of people have been praying for Michael, thank you very much. And he found out that his platelet count is 50. So with his typical dry British humour, he said, why don't you tell everybody that I'm 50? Of course he's 70, you see. Which was one of the reasons why he was at risk. And the danger was that if something had happened, and who knows what it could be, we just don't know. Something could have happened which caused a hemorrhage, and with the platelets low and away from the hospital, he could apparently have died easily. That's how quick it can be. It's a hemorrhage which is unchecked. The platelets cannot handle it, and unless he can get to having a blood transfusion fast enough, then it would be the end. Now, you would think, well, okay, so if he's in hospital, it will be easy to have a blood transfusion. Even then, it's not that easy. We're in the Philippines, and whenever we have taken anyone to hospital, which has been many, we took many people to hospital. We took one young woman who was in a serious condition, and when we got there, they wouldn't accept her unless, even for tests, unless she had blood. Now, you would think that they just say, well, send to the blood department and or the blood store and get, and it's not that easy. What Beth had to do was she had to go around and talk to people who would be willing to give blood. And usually in these hospitals, this is the Philippines, the security guards make extra money by giving blood. But of course, if they've done any kind of drugs, that's the first thing they test for. And I remember on one particular occasion, we did get someone very quickly who was prepared to give blood, and it turned out that he tested positive for blood, for drugs. So he was no good, back to the drawing board. So even that is not so easy. Now, what's happening with Michael is that he is now under close supervision, and they're monitoring him very closely because of who he is. Now, ironically, coincidentally, his niece also has caught dengue. So it's possible that the mosquitoes that are carrying dengue are up in their neck of the woods around Zamora. Who knows, because the child has been in more places than Zamora, so it could be in Tagbilaran, could be anywhere. So she is down the hall being treated for dengue too, which means that the support group is under some stress, but Michael is being taken care of incredibly well. He has about 3 or 4 women who are there fussing over his every move, probably strangling him or smothering him, I should say. But anyway, now he understands that he has to be there. Now, with a jump up to 50, the outlook is pretty good. So what we're hoping for is another proportional leap. I mean, if we could go and tack on another 25% on top of that 50, boy, that would be a step in the right direction. So it's possible, not promised, but it's possible that with prayers and rest, he now has a real private room. One room where he is the only person in the room. So he can now rest, he can have peace. He's not in with the hustle and the bustle of 3 or 4 families all supporting their relatives who are in hospital. So that's good. He's got a ton of books, and he's reading and just biding his time. So thank you so much for all of your prayers. thank you for the Kiwi who messaged me, and thanks Beth and I for the little that we have managed to do for our friend Michael. And one thing I wanted to mention, because it's in the news at the moment, and that is, I wanted to mention that actually Michael is a retired fireman. I only learned about this I think yesterday, day before, and we were talking about our former lives. Sometimes when you're in a totally different country, different culture, different everything, as the Philippines is, it sometimes feels like an other lifetime. In one of my previous lifetimes, you find yourself saying, he was a fireman, and he actually was an engineer, but first and foremost, in his heart, he was a fireman. And his father, at the point where children are guided, youngsters are guided, his father accepted that what he wanted to do was to be a fireman, that he'd wanted to be that from being a kid. That was what he wanted to do. His mission was set. His father said, I want you to take an engineering degree course so that you have something to fall back on. That that age-old thing that parents like to think about, that you have to have something to fall back on. So that was what happened. He did his engineering education training, and then later he actually was one of those who went abroad. There were two places in the UK. He and I are from the same town, a few miles apart. We were born a few miles apart. I obviously didn't know him then, but since coming to the Philippines, I've met and bonded like brothers with Michael. We meet on Sundays when all is well, and we talk Manchester, which is where we're both from. So he was one of those who went on assisted passage. There were two places. I didn't realize that you could go to New Zealand on the assisted passage program, but that's what Michael did. And for just £10 sterling, that was your passage paid. There was also Australia, and they allowed people to go on the £10 per person to go to Australia as well. And I remember that, but of course I think I was too young, or no, I'd gone into the army, so that was my assisted passage to hell, as far as I was concerned. But anyway, he went to New Zealand, and he was a fireman. So I wanted to talk a bit later about the firemen in Australia. Right now, thanks for looking in. Thanks for caring so much about our friend Michael. He is doing well, but keep on praying, please. He can use all the help that he wants, that he needs. Thank you. Bye for now. This is a foreigner in the Philippines. Don't forget to share this if you can, and also to go to our charity site, which is Terence Beth Martin Giving Hope Inc., INC as Beth always puts it, and you can help by going there and looking at the videos and by subscribing. It's important to subscribe. There you can comment and you can give us your input, but we're showing the kind of things that we're trying to help the less fortunate with. A lot of different videos about what we've been doing. A lot of them, of course, you can look at on this channel, which you're watching now. But at the moment, thanks to various situations, we're not able to post videos, or we're not able to see your comments. We're able to see the notifications, and as I've said before, if you can say what you want to say in the first 10 words of your comment, we'll see it and read it. Otherwise, it gets chopped off. Thanks for being with us, and bye for now.